What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back to my unit review series for Fire Emblem Heroes. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at Kronya, aka Alolan Perry, aka Clown Perry, and these are the topics I'm going to be discussing in this video, so let us begin.
How much longer till I can stab someone?
Kronya is a 162 BST infantry dagger unit who has got pretty good stats for a free-to-play unit. She's got blazing high speed at base 39. However, her base attack at 31 might seem low at first, but still, her dagger makes up for it as she's able to get plus 5 attack from it. Not to mention the minus 7 defensive buff is also possible, so definitely makes the attack stat a bit more decent, but still, her attack stat is definitely something that needs a bit of support. Her HP is pretty high than what you would expect on a unit like this. It's base 44, and it goes really well with her workable resistance. So the good thing about Kronya is that not only she can act as a vantage sweeper and an offensive unit, but she can also take a hit when the situation needs it to be because of her HP pool and also because of her workable resistance. Her defense is much lower, but with some support, or I guess Astra Blessing in Astra Season, it can be made up with her HP pool. She comes with a legendary dagger Aether, and this is a 14 might weapon which gives her plus 3 resistance. Now, plus 3 resistance is actually really good in terms of Aether raids because you want to have more visible resistance so that you can take less damage from AoE specials like from Ophelia's for example. And if you pair her up with air and give her light blessing, then she can take magical hits pretty well. So plus 3 resistance is definitely nice. And at start of combat, if foe is not at full health, then she gets plus 5 attack and plus 5 speed during the combat. And if the foe initiates combat, then she can counterattack before they can attack. So basically, if the foe is not at full health, then she gets Vantage right off the bat, guaranteed, which is actually pretty good. And the plus 5 attack definitely helps her a lot with the Vantage effect. Plus 5 speed is also pretty good for the player phase for doubling, and she comes with Desperation as her slot B skill. So Vantage combined with Desperation makes her a pretty good mixed phase unit that you can build up with budget skills. And her slot C skill is Distant Guard, and Distant Guard is probably not the best slot C skill for her. Savage Blow is definitely much better, but I guess they had to give her like decent skills for Fodder, so she has got Distant Guard. And her special is Luna, which can be useful against some really tanky foes because her attack isn't really the highest. There are certainly a lot of infantry dagger units present in the game, but Kronya is unique enough to stand out because of her dagger. So her legendary dagger makes a huge difference in her viability, and she can act as a vantage sweeper. And as I said before, in the light season with air and stuff like that, she can definitely tank some magical hits. She also has the niche of running null counter disrupt along with Vantage, which no other unit can do. And she can also act as Ares Jr. pretty much by having Special Spiral on slot B. So she definitely has the versatility and the uniqueness because of her weapon. The Vantage effect on her dagger makes her a really good Aether Raids offense unit. As someone who exclusively uses Vantage sweeping strategies for Aether Raids offense, she definitely appears to be a pretty good unit, but she definitely has some flaws. You cannot say that her weapon is insane or too broken because it's really not. Any kind of Vantage sweeper to begin with has a problem with hardy bearing foes, and you're going to be facing a lot of hardy bearing foes in Aether Raids, at least like tier 21 and plus. Like every good team is going to be having some kind of way of stopping Vantage sweepers, hardy bearing, Myogi daggers, or fire sweep weapons. Now the problem with her dagger is that it's too dependent on the enemy losing HP, and you can definitely run Savage Blow, have some kind of support like Bolt Tower and stuff like that to help her with that. But the thing is that Healing Tower is a pretty common structure which a lot of Aether Raids defense teams use. And if that Healing Tower is hard to reach and break, then it's going to be a tough road for Kronya. Not to mention, there are definitely going to be a lot of Aether Raids teams that you will face that do not have all the units on the same spot. Some units will be separated and you will not be able to have the Savage Blow damage on them. And even if you're using something like a level 4 Bolt Tower for offense, you are still going to be missing some units who are not going to be taking any kind of damage or who might get healed up. So against those kinds of teams, like Kronya is definitely going to be struggling. So that Vantage dagger definitely has the inconsistencies. Not to mention Raisin, Leon, like Veronica, Air are pretty common units to be used on Aether Raids defense, who all can provide healing to their allies. So that just makes it more tough for Kronya. With regular Vantage sweepers, all they have to worry about are hardy bearing units and fire sweep weapon users. That's pretty much it. Like really strong Vantage users I'm talking about. But Kronya has to worry about the enemy taking some hits so that she can actually activate her Vantage. Now you can surely use Savage Blow to set up Kronya but it's not going to be activating in the enemy phase. So if we ever get like Savage Blow 4 or something like that, that can also do the passive damage in the enemy phase, then Kronya is definitely going to be getting a big boost. So something like that might be able to increase her viability, but for now it's just a pipe dream. Sure, her attack might seem a bit shaky for Vantage strategies, but it can be worked out with Bolt Tower, some support, and as I said, her Dagger definitely helps her with that. So overall, I would say that Kronya is definitely one of the better free-to-play units that we have got. She is with her flaws and with her inconsistencies, but nonetheless, if that's your playstyle and if you play her correctly, then she can definitely be a force to be reckoned with in Aether Raid's offense. And in other game modes, she can also act as a pretty good unit with a mixed phase build with Desperation Vantage. Not to mention, you can also run the Special Spiral skill and have her as a mini Ares pretty much, who is ranged. And she comes with Distant Guard as a 4-star skill. We didn't really have this skill before easily available, so here are some good recipients of this skill. Distant Guard definitely pales in comparison to Emblem teams when they use the Ward skills. So if you're using any kind of Emblem team, then you don't really have a reason to use Distant Guard. You just go with the Ward skill, unless you're using something like a Dragon team, and Ward Dragons isn't all that easily available to you. And if you're using like all infantry units or a mixed Emblem team, then Distant Guard is pretty useful to you. One particular use of this is going to be in Aether Raid's offense when you're going to be using a super tank, and when you combine them with a support unit like Male Corrin, Titania, and New Azura also has the Hagoisha weapon, which is going to be useful for defensive support, so you can stack up Distant Guard with that and also have drive resistance and basically have this on your support units.
I love the sight of blood.
Her first build is a budget build utilizing Fury, goes well with her playstyle, and she's able to use this in both phases. It also goes really well with Desperation and the Brazen Seal. As I said before, you want to run Savage Blow on her slot C. It's definitely her best skill for that, because you want to set up her Legendary Dagger, and with this build she can reach 60 attack with her weapon and Brazen Skill active. And you can go with some other specials like Moonbow and Glimmer if you want to fodder off some more units. Her second build uses Life and Death to maximize her offenses for both phases. As I said, Savage Blow is to be run. You can run double Savage Blow as well to get more passive damage. So you're definitely able to counteract healing from something like Herons because they only heal up to 7 HP. So that could be done. You can also run a Flashing Blade Sacred Seal with a 2-turn cooldown special like Glimmer on Moonbow. And if you want to use some expensive options, then you've got Attack Speed Solo and Attack Speed Push 4, which is going to be available on Brave Camilla, so that definitely has some time to get released. And now we begin with some Close Counter builds. Close Counter is a solid option on Kronya because of the Vantage that she has got in her Dagger and the fact that it's able to provide her with more attack. And you can run Special Spiral on her Slot B because her Slot B is open, and she can pretty much become a mini Ares. I say mini Ares because she's not able to hit as hard as him because he can spam 3-turn cooldown specials like Bonfire. And Special Spiral with Close Counter can definitely give her pretty good Vantage sweeping potential in Aether Raid's offense. You can also run Pulse Smoke for her Slot C if you have other means of like passive damage output like maybe Fallen Takumi or Bolt Tower. And Ruptured Sky is also an option, but it's really expensive. You will have to watch out for Fire Sweep Weapon users, Mayogi Daggers, and Hardy Bearing Foes because they're definitely going to be a threat to her. And her fourth build uses Null Counter Disrupt in her Slot B skill. Null Counter Disrupt with Vantage gives her a unique niche which no other Vantage Sweeper in the game has got. So with this, she's able to retaliate back to Fire Sweep Weapon users and also Razzle Dazzle healers, which is definitely pretty good. A lot of these times, these kinds of Fire Sweep Weapon users and Razzle Dazzle healers have overlapping ranges with other threats in Aether Raid's defense teams, so Kronya can retaliate back to them, finish them off, and not let them stop her path of Vantage sweeping. And this is how these two builds look at max investment. So these are pretty much the go-to builds if you want to use her in Aether Raids. She's able to reach 44 visible resistance with 2 airs at maximum investment, and that is really good. And that's the best thing about Kronya. Not only she can function as a Vantage sweeper, but again she can take hits, which is really important. And that massive HP that she has got is certainly going to be useful with the resistance that she has got. So I know for some people these two builds are going to be their end goals. And now we move on to the fifth build. So this uses Lull Attack Defense from Dimitri. So if you give that skill to her, then she's going to be able to hopefully kill every last one of them because Lull Attack Defense debuffs stack on with the visible debuffs from her Dagger. And she's also able to neutralize attack and defense buffs that foes might have. And that is really important because a lot of units in Aether Raid's defense will get danced by Azura and they will be able to have more stats. So being able to neutralize their buffs in attack means that she's going to be able to survive more hits, and by neutralizing their buffs in defense, it means that she might be able to one-shot them, so that can definitely matter. And this is definitely an option that you can have for slot B. It's certainly expensive. And then we have got another option for her slot B with this kind of build. I don't really like this option too much, but nonetheless it's an option. So you can run disarm traps, and you have the utility to be immune to traps and disable them for allies. So she's not going to be taking damage from bolt traps, and she can stay healthy to take more hits, and she's able to do hit and run strategies much better on heavy traps then. The problem I have with this is that because of disarm trap, you're not going to be able to damage the foe with their own bolt trap. A lot of times for many defense teams, their bolt traps are placed in such a way that it damages their team heavily, and Kronya is a unit who thrives off the damage that the enemy has got because she gets to activate her weapon. So in that case, that can definitely work against you, but in some cases where you want to stay healthy and maybe hit and run, can definitely help you. And the last build is for Arena, so if you want a plus and merger for Aether raids or something other, then you can also use her as a cheerleader because the debuffs from her Dagger and attack smoke is definitely going to be helpful, and having a ranged cheerleader in Arena can definitely make things pretty easy. You can use Wind Sweep with Poison Strike. She's got fantastic speed at plus 10 merge, but the thing is that against very high defense armor units, she's not going to be able to do any kind of damage other than maybe the Poison Strike damage.
Don't get too chummy.
For her teammates, you want to use units like Fallen Takumi and Duma who can do passive damage from a distance. I personally use Fallen Takumi in Aether Raid's offense with a level 4 Bolt Tower with my Vantage Sweepers, and he helps a lot. So if you want to use Kronya, then Fallen Takumi is going to be one of her best friends. You can also use Pain Plus Healers because they're able to do a lot of splash damage, and that is going to be enough to activate her Dagger. And if you're going to be using her in Aether Raid's offense, please make sure to use a level 4 Bolt Tower. It's going to be making things much easier for you because level 4 Bolt Tower does 25 damage, and if you initiate combat against the enemy team, you do 7 more damage with Savage Blow, and they're not able to completely replenish that damage even if they have a level 4 healing tower which restores 25 HP. So once again, this is extremely important. And for counters, units like Air, Raisin, Leon, Veronica, who all are pretty common in Aether Raid's defense teams, are going to be shutting down her Dagger because they're just going to be healing up their allies. So that is going to be super annoying. And for any kind of Vantage Sweeper, Hardy Bearing foes, and units with Cloud Myogi like Soth, who are usually seen, are a big nuisance. And Healing Tower, as I said, a level 4 Healing Tower is going to be super annoying, and that is pretty common on many defense teams. Raven Tome users, even though they are not very common, can simply just destroy Kronya because she's going to be able to do 0 damage and the good old ting ting, so they are definitely going to be annoying.
Guess you wanna die.
Kronya is a unique Dagger unit who can be useful in Aether Raids, and she's actually decently bulky and take few hits, so that makes her a good candidate for close counter. Null Counter Disrupt and Vantage gives her a pretty good niche in Aether Raids, and she can function as a dual face unit as you have seen with some of her builds. She can also act as a special spammer with the special spiral builds, which can be pretty useful in many other game modes. Some of the reasons why you may not want to upgrade her is because her Dagger's effect can be inconsistent with some of the Aether Raids defense teams, which I said before, like the Healing Tower might be hard to reach and break, and if the enemies are separated, then it's hard to chip them away. And also, if you don't really have these kinds of skills like Null Counter Disrupt, Special Spiral, Close Counter available for Fodder, then you might not have a lot of reason to upgrade her. And if you have already invested into other Vantage Sweepers like Nino, Tharja, Ares, Soth, who can hit much harder than her, then also you might not be interested in building her up. Me personally, I have plenty of Vantage Sweepers built up like Ares, Nino, Micaiah, so I'm not really going to be investing into her too much. If you want a plus and merger, then you will have to use Heroic Grails, and it's going to be taking 2200 Grails to max her out. And this is not counting the eventual Grand Tour Battle rerun, which she's going to be having in few months, like 5-6 months. Some of the reasons why you may want to invest into her is that she's good in Aether Raids and also useful in other game modes. And merges like make her bulk better, which is one of her strengths. She can actually take a hit. And if you combine that with Astra Blessings and Light Blessings and Aether Raids, then she can definitely be more tanky. Now, some of the reasons why you may not want to invest into her is that her attack stat isn't really the highest. It's definitely decent with her Dagger, but as I said, it's not something insane or too high. And there are definitely other Vantage Sweepers available in 3-star and 4-star pool, which require no Grails. So if you want to use Advantage Sweeper and not really use your Grails, then those are going to be your options. And she's very reliant on passive damage, and it can be problematic and really situational at times because the healing towers might be hard to break against some kind of teams, as I stated before. She's definitely a pretty good unit and a unique unit at that. And that is gonna be it for this unit review. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please be sure to leave a like. It will help me tremendously. And be sure to share this video with your friends who are thinking of building Kronya or who are interested in building her. And if you haven't already, then make sure to subscribe for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. And please be sure to hit the notification bell and click on all so that you can always get the updates to my videos whenever I upload. Because expecting YouTube sub boxes to work is like expecting Kronya to not be bloodthirsty. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.